your portfolio or make the telephone? Or were you soaked in at the age of 33 when some cocky Roman soldiers had you nailed up to a tree? Maybe you were black and tired on the front seat of the bus, or on the progress march Bombay line, face down in the dust. Maybe you were all this and more, but like those can't be more. Children who haven't yet been named are stronger for your spark, stronger for your blame, stronger for your blame.
When there's no drama, day-to-day, let's learn about different wonders to be changed.
Rather climb a mountain, walk Timbuktu. Truth's like chances is right no matter what you do. No need burning, get rid by flame. No it's blessed, even if you never heard your name. Maybe you were all this and more, but life knows it can't be more. Children who haven't yet been named are stronger for your spark, stronger for your blame, stronger for your blame, stronger for your blame.
Welcome. I am not Shannon Black. I think you know who I am, but I think some of you may not, but I am Reverend Patty Willis. I see some new faces out there. And as we begin, first of all, I invite you, everyone, to take out your cell phones. iPhones, yeah. And then turn them on. I also invite you to enjoy the chapel in the back of the sanctuary. There is a book there, a wonderful book that is filled with the joys and concerns of this congregation. And there's a place for you to write me notes. Even you can write me things you don't like, but you please, they are notes that come to me. And when I begin my week here, that is the first place where I go. If you have little ones, you are welcome here. We have lots of little ones. We also have a nursery downstairs. And after our service, we will be having our Mystery Palace potluck lunch down there. And if you did not bring something, never fear. There is always enough food for all. And you will notice that we are still under construction, but I don't think any drywall will be falling in your food. In a couple of weeks, we'll actually have a grand opening, so you can look forward to that. I also invite you to really look at these announcements that are on the back of our program. I'd like to call to your attention especially that we are having a meeting next Saturday from 12 o'clock. We'll be talking a little more about Unitarian Universalism. So if you're new to us and if you are tired of looking everything up on the internet, you can actually speak with people at that time. And I invite you to do that. And we also, on Wednesdays from 6 o'clock, we have soup and amazing soup made by our Director of Religious Exploration, and lots of classes we enjoy together, including ones where we write letters to politicians. So I hope that you can join us for some of those things.
morning, everyone. My name is Christine Carroll. I'm one of 7 people that serve you, the congregation, by serving my term on the Board of Trustees here. And the election for that Board of Trustees will be every year in the middle of the year, which is our fiscal year, where some of the board members will roll out as a 3-year term. And I'm pleased to serve you. This is my last year. This year's time. Wherever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter who you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You're welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears. You are welcome here. If you come here with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, you are welcome here.
Good morning. Good morning. Now I have my real hat on. This week I have been, not just this week, for the past many weeks, I have been thinking about the welcome of this country. The welcome that begins in our hearts and stretches out throughout this land. The welcome that is embodied by the Statue of Liberty. A poem was written for her called The New Colossus. That poem was written by an immigrant. These are the words. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these. The homeless, tempest-tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is at the foundation of who we are as Americans. Let us hold that history in our hearts. I have left this nation many times, and I remember one time in particular when I was returning, and a custom agent almost made me cry. He looked at my passport that was filled with so many stamps. I had been away for a very long time. And he looked at me and he said, "Welcome home." Our country has stood as a beacon, and that is what we hope for this community, this place. And I have heard that it is true. I have spoken about how I wish I had driven by here on my way to my grandmother's place and seen your rainbow flag in the 1990s. This building and this community are a symbol of welcome in this city, in this valley, in this state. And in that spirit of welcome, for I know that the most important work that happens here is out there. I invite you to stand and welcome each other. And then we will sing.
long-term member, and I was invited to give this little why I'm here talk. It's always dangerous to put me in this pulpit because I can talk for a lot more than you. I came to South Valley in 1987 and found here a wonderful minister, Barbara Bush at that point, and decided this was a place for me. I formerly was a member of First Church. And I got immediately involved. This church is very welcoming of people and their skills. I went on the board, I became the board president. I helped negotiate the buying of this church. And that is a real growth opportunity. I encourage you all to get involved with working because it is an act of love and it's fun and you learn a lot. I like this community because it's at that time in 1987, I was a lot younger, but my community was very monoculture. It was all mainly people the same age. My social activities were almost only kind of a whole wide world of ideas and wonderful, loving people. This church is a sanctuary to me. It's my private sanctuary. I can come here when things get too weird with Utah politics. Although it's much better now than it was in the early 80s. This is a safe place. This is a place where some of my best friends are. I'm looking at Matt and Sherry. And other people who've been here for as long or longer than I have. I would not hesitate in an emergency. I don't have birth family here, but I would not hesitate if I ended up in the hospital or something. I couldn't get a hold. Even Brenda is my next of kin, but I would call Matt. I would call Antoinette. You people who make up this congregation are my family and my base and my support. And I really appreciate this group. I've come and gone. As Unitarians can do, we choose what we're doing. And a couple times I've stayed away for a year because something disgruntled me. But it is wonderful to have our church spirit at the high level that it is now. I love this group, I love the spirit, I love the feeling, the connections. And there are two big parties that we have every year. One is the auction, and that's in the fall. And if you don't know about the auction, just know that you're going to attend a big, fun party in the fall. And one of the things we do there is sell to raise money for the church parties. So you might have a party at your house, or say I'm having a party for Chinese food, and I'm going to make that, and you decide if you want to come or not. And maybe it's $15 a person. So we get, I would say 10 people. Well, that's $150 that goes to the church. But there's very fun activities. The other thing that's great about this church is our music program. Now, it's wonderful. We have all sorts of small music groups forming, little jazz groups, and there's lots of music available. So the other big event is March 4th, and that is when we talk about funding this church. And I never heard the word tithing before. I was sort of an unchurched person. But it's sort of what money can we afford to give to make this place the wonderful place that it is. And it is something to think about between now and the 4th. It'll just be a big party and we'll be talking about it. In the weeks after that, we're going to be asking for people to sign a card that says, this is how much I'll be able to next year. And that's to support the rent, the light, the salaries for our employees, the upkeep, all sorts of things that we need money for to have this be a very effective and loving community. So March 4th, I urge you all to make sure you got that on your calendar. It will be a fun party, and we won't just dwell on money. It'll be fun, funny, amusement, entertainment, music. Be there and get ready to start thinking about how you will support this church and affirm yourselves within this vibrant community.
it on?
I'm
Channel
loud.
2.
Channel 2's all
I'd
the way
like to
up.
invite all of the young and young at heart to come forward for a story.
Take it all the way down.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead without a mic because I can project, and I apologize in advance if you. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Pika pika. Okay. Okay, so the Pikachu costume is what I will explain to you first. So today is the kickoff of our Mystery Pals program. And the theme this year is Pokemon. And I want you to know that I didn't even pick it. Even though I'm a level 29 Pokemon Go trainer. And I owned a Pikachu costume before Pokemon Go came out. Every year we have a different theme for Mystery Pals. And Mystery Pals is a way that different people in our community get to know each other. During the month of March, you exchange notes and little trinkets and get to know someone new. And you know how every Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and sit down now. You know how every Sunday for the past month or so, people have been coming and talking about why they come to church here? Has anyone noticed that, or did you fall asleep? No? Did you notice? All right, good deal. I noticed. Okay, so I thought today I would share with you why I come here. Okay. So, back long ago, before I was the DRE, I believe it was about 2010 or 2011. I was checking in with some people on some details. And Robin and Taylor Miranda recruited me to be a Mystery Pal. And I was like, Mystery Pal? What's Mystery Pals? She said, oh, you get to become friends with somebody new in the congregation. And I thought, okay, I could do that. It just requires me exchanging things 3 weeks and then meeting someone on the 4th week. And I got assigned a Mystery Pal, and it was an awesome experience. I got to know someone new, and the reason I brought, so the first thing is that I knew who it was from the very first note, because the note said that they had a cat named Pixel. And I was so excited about this cat named Pixel because I already had seen this cat named Pixel on Facebook. So cute. So I already knew the parent of the person I got matched up with. And we got to know each other over the next 3 weeks, and we exchanged notes. And I think there are a lot of people who have done this in this congregation. If you've done Mystery Pals and you have a new friend of a different generation, will you raise your hand? Yeah, look around. How many of you have done it at least 5 times? I know there are some of you who have been doing it almost your whole life. Some of these folks, how many of you were a Mystery Pal when you were a kid, and now you get to be the grown-up half of the Mystery Pal pair? Raise your hand. Yeah, raise them high. Come on, Anna. So getting back to the story. So I came to DRE here, and I saw this program, Mystery Pals, and I saw how much effort goes into it. It is a huge job. There are 2 adults and a group of people downstairs right now preparing for today's kickoff party. Lots of energy. And one of my first thoughts was, is this thing worth all the energy that we put into it? Because that's what you do when you're a new DRE. You start looking at things and going, oh, that's too hard. Or, oh, let's do more of that. So I wondered, is this worth it? And then I looked on my kitchen windowsill. And this is what sits on my kitchen windowsill. Now, it's important to know that I have a black thumb. I do not, this is the longest any houseplant has ever never survived in my house. Tucker Gurney helped me and Anna plant these in little tiny cups about yay big. It had about 4 leaves on it. And that year the theme was Harry Potter, so it says, "Beware Mimulus Mimbletonia" on its tag. And so when I was thinking about, do we really want to do this? It's so much work. I looked at my kitchen window and I saw this great big plant. This great big plant has been living in my windowsill, and it reminded me of how I got to make an awesome new friend in the congregation. And that was one of the reasons that I came here and that I continue, is that we have an opportunity to make friends with people of all ages and all kinds of backgrounds. And look, my plant even has a baby. And the baby one lives in my office, so I have 2 plants that live now. And that's what I wanted to come share with you today, is that I come here so that I can have friends and really my family, my chosen family, people that we get to know, because of programs like Mr. So don't forget, everybody come downstairs. We have a lovely potluck meal happening down there after the service, and you can sign up to be a mystery pal too. Thank you. Let's head downstairs.
As we listen to these marvelous sounds of children's laughter and joy, I invite you to listen to the sound of this bell and find that place of quiet within you, that place that has been elusive of late, but is still there waiting, that place that has been called the still point of the turning earth. Let us breathe together. And consider that beneath our feet, if we traveled downward, we would go through all of those layers of rock and history down to the fiery core. Let us also consider the space above us and extend ourselves up into the clouds above those mountains and into that place of stars and planets, and look back and see that earth, that place of such great beauty that has been our shelter. As each Sunday we bring with us our joys and our sorrows, today this service is part of many services going on in the city around homelessness in children. So today especially, let us hold those children in this valley, in this state, in this world, who are without a home. Corinne Anderson, who is dealing with heart problems at this time. We ask for comfort for her. Let us hold her in the light of this community and continue to hold Connie Gates, who is navigating, having to move without the use of her legs. We ask also for comfort for her and for Joe and for patience at this difficult time. We will now enter a minute of silence, and when I ring the bell, I invite you to say any names. And I must say that sometimes when I visited churches years ago, I would say my own name during this time, to say the names of any who are in need of care and light. Especially let us hold the refugees, the people who had planned to come to this country and are now shut out. Let us also hold those people who have the power to open those gates. We use their brilliant minds to find out ways. The Muslims of this country who are feeling fear. Sister. For all those names left unsaid, let us hold them in the light of this community. And I invite you during this week that when you are feeling distracted and discouraged, that you remember and hold this light once again. Amen. Today's offering will be shared with the Osheti Shakulim Camp, a unified encampment of water protectors dedicated to protecting critical resources from the Dakota Access Pipeline. They are wonderful people. I have friends there, people I met, spoke with, ate with, worked with. I invite you to hold them this week as we wonder what will happen. I invite you now to join with me in saying the words printed in the order of service for our offering. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. Those of you who are new to us today, please, you are our guest. Do not feel that you need to contribute.
Well, the offering song today will be uniquely appropriate because it involves a mystery friendship, an intergenerational mystery friendship. Immigrants, this is a bouzouki, the guitar, and there's an alternate, not a song that's written down. And that is our fault.
It was our alternate battle.
So this is the bouzouki. It's a Greek immigrant to bluegrass music here in America. And as you can imagine, with a name like bouzouki, it's very hard to get into the country. And the tune we're going to play is brand new, but it has a mystery friend. Emily Dickinson wrote the lyrics for this. And it has a little time in because it also has a good pick walks on the fill at the solo, and then Inuit for singing out. So we hope you enjoy this. Alternate fact, we did not begin. There. Hope is the wind bends, the perches in the soul, it sings the tune without words, never stops at all. And the sweetest in the gale is heard, as swords being shorter, the lash by the river. So many
Cocheti Shampooing Camp of Water Protectors and the South Valley community. Thank you for your gifts.
The reading today is from My Day by Eleanor Roosevelt. During all the discussions about human rights, Eleanor never forgot that human rights concerned not abstract masses, but individuals in all their frailty. My interest or sympathy or indignation is not aroused by an abstract cause, she explained at the age of 75, but by the plight of a single person whom I have seen with my own eyes. The problems of individuals and her empathy for those individuals led her to an awareness of human needs and of the significance of those problems for the community, the country, and finally the world. One day in New York, she saw a homeless man, drunk or ill or asleep, sprawled on the sidewalk. People glanced at him and hurried by, she wrote in My Day. And the next day at Lake Success, as we argued about human rights at a community meeting, I wondered how many human rights that poor man had.
different folks, and so
difficult to see. They tug at our parenting instincts. I believe something physiological happens in us, and we want to take them under our wings. When I prepared food one wintry day at the Homeless Youth Resource Center, before it became this beautiful place called the Youth Resource Center, a young woman who came in for food had a small child with her. Where would they spend the night, I wondered. It was strange doing something that was so obviously helpful, providing a delicious meal. Our South Valley cooks are chefs who put lots of time and care and love into what they prepare. And we were even able to fix a box of carry-out food for later and provide her and her child with scarves knitted by our prayer shawl circle. And yet, being there and providing something made me feel so helpless. So helpless at those larger problems that had brought that woman and her child to that place. Did they have somewhere indoors to spend the night? How was it for the child to experience life as an outsider? How would she remember that life later? I remember how hard it was for me when my father did crazy things that called attention to us. He loved to do those things. Like he would say in a loud voice when we would go to a buffet restaurant, "You'd better eat up, kids. This is the last food you will get for a week." And then the servers would look at us, horrified. But we were still dressed as if we had a home. My father couldn't change that. And we had a car waiting outside the restaurant that we weren't living in. We had been able to bathe. Living without a home is hard on children. We know that, and here is some data to support it, because sometimes data is important. According to the National Center on Family Homelessness, 1 in 45 children in America is homeless each year. 1 in 45. That's over 1.6 million children. According to the center, these 3 things are very important. That for the child, this constant barrage of stressful and traumatic experience has profound effects on their development and on their ability to learn. Among industrialized nations, the United States has the largest number of homeless women and children. Children experiencing homelessness are sick 4 times more often than children who have homes. They go hungry at twice the rate of other children. When children are homeless, we as Unitarian Universalists are faced like this with our first principle that affirms the worth and dignity of all human beings. For when we are made homeless, we are often robbed of that worth and dignity. As I spoke of earlier, our community does such things as fix meals for the homeless youth, and I invite you to participate in that. It is a wonderful thing. And there are other opportunities. Look up the Road Home in Midvale. It's a family Center, there is a program that I'm going to begin doing sometime this spring where you go in once a week and you read to children. And there's another time when you go in and you help them with homework. I know that like preparing meals, these experiences will be eye and heart opening. And this year, the Interfaith Roundtable had a winter glove drive. It felt so good to see all of those heavy-duty gloves destined for hands that were spending the bulk of their time in the freezing cold. But like the work on our borderlands of bringing people water or bandaging blistered feet, we are providing relief. This is good. This relief can be life-changing and is important. And the roots of poverty that are beyond our reach will provide an endless and growing stream of people in need. Out of our view, one of those epic monsters of those movies that I don't usually see, but I can imagine them. I love Sherlock Holmes, but those are kind of like human, horrible monsters, kind of like that, I think. But out of our view, one of those epic monsters, and I want you to envision that epic monster, has been creating a greater and greater disparity between the rich and the poor. A World Bank study has shown that the U.S. has a higher level of income inequality than Europe, Canada, Australia, and South Korea. UNICEF ranked the United States 34th out of 35 economically advanced countries in our childhood poverty rates. Only Romania has a little bit higher relative childhood poverty rate than we do. The UNICEF report explained the underpinning rationale for doing this study. Because, this is important, because children have only one opportunity to develop normally in mind and body. You know that as parents. And the commitment to protection from poverty must be upheld in good times and in bad. A society that fails to maintain that commitment, even in difficult economic times, is a society that is failing its most vulnerable citizens and storing up intractable social and economic problems for the years immediately ahead. And when we humans encounter intractable problems, like I saw around that young woman and her child at the Homeless Youth Resource Center, we become easily discouraged. And we need all of our courage, all of our energy to keep doing what we can to have a world for our children and their children that will be livable. This is where we need a drum roll, or one of that marvelous music that comes and you know that someone is going to appear on the horizon who knows just what to do. I figured it out yesterday. We need a superhero. Somebody in a very fine suit with amazing muscles. So let's think about what we would want that superhero to do. I would want that all-powerful person, and I want that person to be a woman, and just in this case, just for your imagining possibilities, because there were no female superheroes when I was growing up. And it sounds kind of great to me to think of a woman on the horizon with big muscles, knowing what to do. And the first thing I think she would need to do is reach out her hands and adjust our society and level out our economic structure. Not completely, but make it, maybe push us up to number 5 instead of number 34. We have learned that most people in that 1%, if presented with more money, will not want it to trickle down to the rest of the economy. They'll just buy something new. So this superhero would have to have great technological skills to even out bank accounts, even the offshore ones, and wages. When we are trying to pass a minimum wage to make it closer to a living wage, we need the kind of crowd that showed up yesterday at the Capitol. Last year, a proposal to raise Utah's minimum wage to $12 an hour and the restaurant wage to $5 an hour was quickly jettisoned in the Utah legislature for at least the 3rd year in a row. HB 195 couldn't get clear the first hurdle in getting out of the House Business and Labor Committee and was tabled with an 8-3 vote. The first year that such a bill was introduced, I attended the committee meeting with an Episcopal priest. He spoke before the committee of a woman in his community with 3 children to support. She had a full-time job but was homeless because she could not pay for an apartment out of her salary and feed her children. The people of that committee need to be volunteering to read to children at the road home or prepare meals at the Youth Resource Center. Our superhero would find a way. She would have those politicians switch places with one of the parents living at the road home, trying to figure out how they could eventually have a home for their family. You know those movies, I love those movies where they switch places, like that movie a long time ago, Trading Places, where we just switched them. Aren't there a few people you would like to just flip a switch and have them end up somewhere very different than where they are? When our minimum wage is not a living wage, we will have children without permanent shelter. This article in the Salt Lake Tribune about the tabling of the bill last year showed one of the buildings up at the state capitol. Looking at that photograph, I realized, excuse me, that what we needed was what I saw yesterday, what I participated in yesterday. We needed on that day when that committee voted 8-3. Before the vote, we needed a crowd of people around that building with signs calling for a higher minimum wage. Today, I want to dub all of you superheroes. Because I believe that is the only way we are going to be able to make change. And it is an honor. We are a democracy, and I believe we have forgotten that for quite a few years. Another time we are going to need to show up in great numbers is to help ameliorate the growing number of children without homes. It's to support affordable housing. These are not sexy things that people want to go out and raise their banners about, but they are at the root of these things that we see and we want to reach out our hands and help. The march yesterday to welcome immigrants is our extending our reach to people seeking refuge in this country. And yesterday I loved seeing the crowds of people with welcoming signs. I loved meeting Imam Mehtar and friends of other faiths from the Interfaith Roundtable. And what struck me yesterday more than anything, for some reason, were the drummers from Burundi. The drummers from Burundi who were giving energy to that march, to that gathering. Such energy and life. And what a loss to this country when we do not welcome the possibilities of great music, dance, and culture that our country receives through immigration. Almost on time. Music from Brazil. Yesterday evening, Lou and I watched a PBS documentary about a young man, Frederick Davis, who spent his early childhood homeless. This documentary, called From the Streets to the Stage, showed how his mother struggled with addiction. And this is another area where we need superheroes. After some very difficult times living with his mother, his grandmother, Evie, took him into her home. She was the glue, he said. And he was able to start over again. She gave love and support. Some of you are also going to be called to be Evies. And he grew. He was able to start over again. His grandmother, Evie, loved him with a fierceness. That's what one of their friends said. She encouraged him with these words: believe in yourself. Whether you fail or not, you will always know when to get back on your feet again. She also said, you have to see the hard things as blessings. Do you want to be against society, or do you want to inspire others? I know that there are Evies among you. Frederick Davis happens to be an incredibly gifted dancer who, after many years of hard work, is now dancing with the Harlem Dance Theater. You should look him up and see him dance. The footage of his dance is so beautiful. And that is another perspective, another view, such as those drummers from Burundi. What wonders are waiting for us when we open the gates of this country and when we begin to ameliorate this huge gap between the rich and the poor. When Frederick spoke of his early life, he said, it was unfair, and it was a blessing in disguise. No matter how hard times are, don't let anything get in the way. And now he is working to encourage young dancers. And I'm saying to you, because I think times are hard right now, and I am telling you, Don't let anything get in your way. We need to be citizens. We have forgotten what that looks like. And we need to wake up and become the citizens of a democracy. One of my superheroes, Eleanor Roosevelt, was skilled at doing what I'm asking you to do as superheroes. I'm asking you to see the big picture through your encounters with individuals. Both kinds of work are important. In the reading, Eleanor Roosevelt wrote that my interest or sympathy or indignation, I've been feeling a lot of indignation. Have you? Should we raise a shout? It feels good up here to pound the pulpit. I don't usually do that. It's new today. How many of you are feeling indignation? Yes! Outrage. Outrage. She felt indignation when she encountered that homeless man on the streets of New York. She didn't know why he was lying there. She wondered if he was sleeping or drunk. And he helped her see the larger picture, for she was in the middle of creating the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that we still struggle to live up to. And her encounter with him gave her energy to continue that struggle, to forge that document. The last weeks have been disappointing, discouraging, and hard. And yet, in many ways, I feel that the super enemy has finally been flushed out of the woods. And I'm not just talking about our new president. This trend in our country to quietly ignore the suffering stemming from our growing levels of poverty has been there for a long time, and it is finally out in the open. And we must remember that these growing trends were not stopped by prior presidents we liked better. And looking out yesterday from the Capitol and seeing the crowd stretching in all directions, I said out loud, this is what democracy looks like. This is what a superhero looks like. And many of you were part of that superhero. And there are some times we stand on our own. We read books to children who do not have homes. And we listen to that voice within us. Whatever your theology, in times of distress, if you are listening, you will hear a call of something that only you can do. And sometimes I'm looking at some of the families, their time so stretched by their children. Sometimes that will be caring for your children well. And sometimes it will be standing with me at the state capitol. Sometimes it will be writing a letter and write them handwritten. And I imagine that there will be real superheroes come out of this group. Some of you, and I'm looking straight at Sophie, have stepped up to entering politics. So when we are so critical of who a politician is, I ask you to stop it. Talk about what that politician is doing, because there's some reason why we have such a measly group that will enter politics. I mean, we need to create an atmosphere within which some of you will want to enter politics. I have an amazing niece, and we asked her mother, we said, would you want your daughter, do you think she's thinking about entering politics? And she's in New York, it's doing news stuff, and she would be amazing. And her mother said, I hope she doesn't, because it would be so hard. So when you attack politicians, even politicians you know deserve it, think again. Try to create an atmosphere within which you, and I'm looking at a lot of you who I think would be great politicians, you might want to enter. A marvelous array of superheroes is waiting to move into action. May we inspire each other. May we write our deeds of courage on our South Valley Facebook page. May we tell each other after our service about our dreams of how to be a democracy, how to be a citizen. May we move into action, and may we listen for that voice that is going to tell you to do something you think impossible. Remember Eleanor, and so many. Put superheroes around your walls. That will help us move into this future with courage. Amen, and may it be so. We will now sing Who We Are, number 1051. I invite you to stand in body or spirit. Holy One, giver of blessings that nurture the earth and feed our bodies and souls, we offer now our thanks for the abundance that surrounds us, for the harvest of which we partake, for the many hands that make light the work of helping our sisters and brothers, for those who are in need, who gladden our hearts by allowing us to be of use. With spirits raised by all this, we are so bold as to ask even more. We pray for more caring hands, for the equitable sharing of the riches of the harvest, for more affordable housing, for more people of faith willing to put their faith into action, and for our lives to be constant prayers that all may be safe, warm, and loved. Amen. So may it be.
Well, I love listening out at all you superheroes out there. I was telling some people earlier today that some of you were the ones who were keeping me marginally sane the last couple months. Your posts on Facebook do more good than you might ever imagine. You know, I've been reading about Woody Guthrie this week. And he was born in Oklahoma not long before the Great Depression started. When he was 8 years old, his father lost everything. His mother had Huntington's disease, which led her to become extremely mentally ill, and she had to be institutionalized. She died in a mental hospital. His sister had a terrible accident, and he saw her burned to death before his eyes. Woody Guthrie didn't have a lot going for him. And then the Dust Bowl started, and it was a terrible time in the United States. And what did he have? Well, he had a guitar. He had a voice. He didn't have any training. But he said, I have things to sing, and I care about people, and I care about the fact that workers are working for too little, and they can't take care of their families, and that they're in unsafe conditions. So he hopped on trains, and he went all over this country, and he sang to people who needed singing to, and they sang with him. And it started a movement that continues to this day. And so I was thinking about Woody Guthrie, because that's what a superhero looks like. It's just somebody who didn't necessarily have a single thing in the world going for them, but they found their voice, they found the way that they could help, they found whatever the resource they had, and they worked it out. And this is a song we hope to sing with us, and it's about how all of us are going to carry on, travel on, do our part to be superheroes.
When I lay my body down, you won't find me on the ground. Won't be singing praises above. I'll live on through those I love. Hallelujah, when I'm gone. That's how that I have done my best to give my heart to those in need, like others did from me. Hallelujah, when I'm gone. That's how I will travel on. Hallelujah. From the parched into the whole. It likes it those are. Hallelujah, when I'm gone. That's how I will travel on. Hallelujah, as I go back from the porch into the home. When I lay this body down, you won't find me underground. I won't be missing when I'm gone. I'm gonna travel on. That's your kindness. I'm gonna travel on. Oh, that's beautiful. Just a little louder. I'm gonna travel on. Keep it going now. Hallelujah. That's how I will travel on. Hallelujah. As I go. I'm gonna